Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show. My name is Jordan, and with me, as always, is Logan. How are you, Logan?
Does this thing still work? Are we still on this podcast? I've done so many other podcasts since. No,
Yeah,
it's
it's been a
Jordan.
bit.
It's been 2 months. I looked today.
Yeah,
It's like almost 2 months to the day.
since
So
MLS Cup.
yeah, it was like December 9th was the last time we recorded, and we were like, oh, we'll be back eventually in the off season. No, we're back, and the off season started, and things have gotten in the
Yeah,
way. So Jordan and I are running around with our hair on fire. Well,
we
what's left of your hair.
probably would have been back sooner, but we both had vacations that not only overlapped, but like extended in the
Yes,
sense of like Logan went first, and then as he's coming back, I was already on vacation, and then I came back. So this is really
right.
like the first time we could have done it since like mid-January.
Yeah. Oh, like I haven't talked to Jordan at all since the off. We don't talk. Like
Right.
we get on here and we
I
just
don't even know where he went to vacation. It was
yeah. We figured out we were on vacation when we texted about recording. We were like, "Oh, you're on vacation." No, I'm kidding. But no, it's good to be back. It's been over 2 months almost, and this is always our favorite time of year. This is where we get our most engagement with our fans again. Like I feel like we start to lose fans mid-season, and then they start to come back for the postseason and the wrap up, and then after that we just kind of lose them for a little bit. And this is always a fun time of year because I feel like we really connect with a lot of people and get to talk this game that we love. So
Yeah, it'll be a little different this year. I know I forget how we did it last year, but the previous years before that, we would do an episode for each team. Um, that was crazy. That was insane, and I don't think we're ever doing that again. Because Logan and I were recording like almost every day, just to like put together the episodes and then be able to release them and trying to schedule guests for that and stuff. It was a mess. But what we'll probably be doing is this one. This is a catch up, all of the new stuff that has started going on in the league, transfers, stuff like that. We'll discuss the big stuff here. We'll do an Eastern Conference preview. We'll do a Western Conference preview. We'll do a season preview where we do our prediction show. And then we'll do our MLS kit ranking as well on YouTube. And then and then the season will be starting, which is crazy. I know people are like, this is such a long off season, but this off season really isn't that long compared to other sports. Now, if you're starting to say for the teams that didn't make the playoffs, yeah, maybe it's a little longer, but because they'll like end in October, and
this
not
is
come back till February.
this is the shortest of American sports
Yeah,
because
I think so. Right?
yeah, because baseball stops in October, maybe the very beginning of November. So that's already gotten it beat because it starts around the same time. Like it starts in April, well, end of March now. NBA goes from until June, like mid-June, and then is off until October. And then NFL, they're off for almost a whole year. They play, they don't, their off season's like 7 months. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. You said that. I had never really thought about that. This is easily the shortest off season.
And hockey is the same as
It's
NBA.
basketball. Yeah.
So yeah, so this is the shortest offseason. So anybody that complains about the offseason being wild. Yeah, so we're getting into it here. We've got some big news that has happened since we last spoke. Apple came out with, I guess MLS did. MLS press came out with like the new how do they say it? Oh, MLS Soccer, or Major League Soccer returns to MLS Season Pass on Apple TV for their historic 30th season. By the way, this will, I think, be our 5th season covering on the podcast now. Because I finished the 2021. You jumped on in 2021, right? So 2021, 2022, 23, 24, 25. This is our 5th season here. It kicks off February 22nd and 23rd. So there's some preseason action on MLS Season Pass as well. So there are some friendlies that are coming up. We're recording this on the 9th. On the 11th, we have LAFC facing off against Liga MX Apertura champion Club America at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Inter Miami's final preseason friendly against Orlando City is on February 14th at 7:30 p.m. That's Valentine's Day for everybody there. Those matches are free on Apple TV Plus. You can also watch them on Season Pass, which has renewed. Opening weekend, all 30 clubs will take the pitch in MLS's back weekend. Messi and Miami are hosting NYCFC for the first match of the season at 2:30 p.m. And then they are also introducing Sunday Night Soccer. This is a new Apple TV initiative here where they will be broadcasting a featured game of the week on Sunday evenings under the banner Sunday Night Soccer with enhanced production and dedicated studio programming. These primetime games will air throughout the regular season and spotlight the league's most compelling matchups. Sunday Night Soccer will include dedicated pre- and post-game shows, enhanced production and studio programming, graphics in English and Spanish. All Sunday Night Soccer matches are also available to stream free for Apple TV Plus subscribers. Let's pause there for a second. That's kind of what I've been thinking they should have done. They've been making a lot of games free for anybody, right? But if you have Apple TV Plus, the same way you get Friday Night Baseball, you should be able to get Sunday Night Soccer. So the fact that they're going to give that, I think, is something that could get people that are already subbed to Apple TV Plus for, let's say, maybe the best show on TV, Severance, and then they decide to they see an ad for Sunday Night Soccer and say, oh, I'll watch that as well.
Yeah, I don't think people are watching Severance, Jordan, but I'm just kidding. But yes, I think Apple TV or Apple TV Plus has some of the best shows like Severance that people are watching, Ted Lasso people are watching, Shrinking. Like there's tons of Apple TV Plus that people have kind of shifted to, and I think they actually produce some of the best shows in all of streaming.
They've kind of taken HBO's crown,
thunder, right?
For like prestige.
That's television. What I think. Yeah, I agree with you. So I think that's huge. And actually, friend of the podcast, former Stoppage Time Soccer Show co-host, Matt, he was actually talking about, hey, where do we watch these MLS games? Like, he goes, I know they're with Apple TV. I don't really know if I want to subscribe to that full season because it is like, what, $100 or something, and maybe less if you have Apple TV.
$79.99 if you have Apple TV, $99.99 if you don't.
There you go. So I think everybody that I know has it, Apple TV Plus, or at least subscribe to it because of the different shows. So when they do, they'll get that discount. But Matt was wondering where he gets these games, Jordan, and I said, well, there are a lot of free games that MLS offers just as free games of the week. They're usually not the best games, but then once they start, giving free games to Sunday night, and they start to focus on some of the heavy hitters, I think that they'll get more casual fans to stop by, and I think that's where they could really benefit, because I think if they had one highlight, one big game and maybe it doesn't have to be the biggest game, but if they have one of the bigger games that are available for people to watch, I think you might get people to tune in.
Yeah, so the inaugural Sunday Night Soccer matchup is San Diego FC in their debut against reigning MLS Cup champs LA Galaxy on February 23rd at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's also going to be broadcast live in Times Square, that game.
Are you going to drive to New York City to watch it?
Yeah.
You're just going to go stand in the street?
Live podcast from there in the post game.
And I want you to point your phone at the screen, like not your face. You want to
illegally broadcast the game on my phone?
Yeah, I want you to pirate the league. I want to see grainy from like 50 feet away, Jordan in the middle of Times Square as people are passing through the screen. I want to see it. I want
right.
that to, kind of like what they do. Have you seen the TikToks where people are like filming their, like, instead of streaming on like a streaming platform for like Twitch or something like that, they film themselves playing the video game. And I'm always like, what is that?
Yeah.
So that's what I want.
They can't figure it out. Or like when you see the people and they share clips of TV shows online, they're just recording it off of their laptop in front of them.
Yeah, or the movie theater, it's like they're 15 rows away from the TV, or like the screen's half cut off. That's what I want, Jordan. That's good quality content.
I wonder how much like people will actually stop and like Times Square is a big like touristy area. I've been there a couple times.
Yeah.
It's very like I wonder, like they've
Hustle and
done this
bustle.
type of stuff for places before. Like I'm sure they probably did World Cup
Oh,
shows there before.
100%. Yeah.
But like San Diego, LA Galaxy has two West Coast teams. Like how big of a draw is that in Times Square? I don't know. It is touristy, so there would probably be people from San Diego and LA walking around there. But are we gonna see like, like celebrities like Larry David, like when he sits courtside at the
Mhm.
Knicks, is he going to be instead watching this game
Right.
on the big screen? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so here's a fun thing. So I was in New Zealand, and those that don't know quite location of New Zealand, it's by Australia, and like we
Oh,
were technically 6 hours behind the U.S., but a day ahead, if that makes any sense. But
that was my easy math of doing
yeah,
it. Yes, I would remove 6 hours from my day and just
yes.
say, but it's tomorrow.
Yes, exactly. But Jordan, there's actually one of the friends that we stayed with, her partner, he writes like freelance for like Goal and like European
Oh,
Premier
okay.
League, and he does a lot of freelance and copywriting, and he owns his own, like he has clients that he works with. But the reason why I was talking about this is, Jordan, we have a market there. We have a market
Oh,
in the
yeah.
Asian countries and in like the I forget, I think they're called Oceania.
Yeah.
But it's like that is a market. And I'm not kidding you, in the stores that we went to, I saw so many Inter Miami and LA Galaxy kits. Like there were a lot of US sports things inside of these stores, because I was looking for like I'm getting the soccer kit from every like city now that I go to, because I think that'd be a lot of fun. But anyway, the reason why I say
Every
that,
city or country. City is a lot.
so I think with MLS, I think city. That's where I'll
Okay.
collect.
Okay.
That's where I'll go
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
collect.
Yeah.
Like we're going to Seattle this year. I'm gonna go collect the Seattle Sounders jersey while I'm there.
There you go.
I don't know what. I'm gonna try to find like a good
A good
soccer
one.
shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like the reason why I'm saying that is like, Jordan, they have a need there, because Premier League is like in the middle of the night for them, or like really early, like 3 a.m. Like it's really, really early for them. I was like, MLS has an opportunity there, because like it would be on midday. Like MLS would be on midday. Like
Yeah, like a
they
7 o'clock Sunday
right,
game, a Saturday game is a 1 p.m.
right.
Sunday night, Sunday
Exactly.
afternoon game for them.
Yeah. So if MLS can find it, and I know Apple TV, they're a little bit more hesitant on getting the Western streaming apps. Like I think they don't have Hulu, or ESPN, or like Hulu doesn't really
Yeah,
exist.
yeah.
It's something else, and
Hulu
neither does
is
HBO
just
Max.
Hulu is just an American thing actually,
Right.
because they've been putting all of their content on Disney Plus if they can on the other
Yeah.
countries.
But anyway, sorry to go on a tangent. I know the episode's long, but like we have a market there, Jordan. We need to infiltrate. And I think that this could help. I think having this documentary that we're getting ready to talk about, but also like just getting MLS abroad, because I think people are going to be looking for things to fill their void. Maybe not in Europe because of the time difference there, where we'd be playing like middle of the night for them. I think in the Asian market, this could be huge for MLS. And we do have a lot of players that are coming over from Asia that are playing in our league. So I think it'd be very interesting to kind of corner that market.
Yeah, on my cruise, Royal Caribbean, since they are a sponsor of Miami, they
Yeah,
had Miami kits
that's
on board in the shop.
crazy.
A lot of people wearing them too. Not that they
Yeah,
bought there. Like I saw them like day one,
yeah.
wearing these messy kits. A lot of Baltimore people too. I saw some Orioles, a lot of
Oh,
Orioles
good.
gear on the ship. So
Good.
that was cool.
Yeah, nothing's more
Um,
synonymous with Caribbean
yeah, then
than the
Baltimore.
Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah. Sunday night soccer matches are featuring broadcast talent on camera with MLS season pass broadcasters Jake Zevin, Taylor Twellman, and Andrew Wiebe on the call for English broadcasts. Sammy Sadovnik and Diego Valeri in Spanish. MLS Wrap Up is moving to Sunday evenings following the final Sunday match to highlight and recap the full week of matches, giving fans a more comprehensive view of all the week's action. This always made more sense to me than having
Yeah,
MLS Wrap Up on Saturday night
Saturday night. Yep.
at 1 a.m. Because there'd still be like 5 games on Sunday or like a game on Sunday. And if you had missed the weekend and you wanted to watch all of the highlights, you wouldn't. You would see
Right.
the end of Saturday, and then that was it. You'd have to catch those highlights individually afterwards for Sunday.
Yeah, big news too. As part of that extra time, the long running show for MLS. I mean, they are,
15 years.
yeah, they are no longer going to be a thing. That's crazy to me, just because of how much I love listening to them. And like, it didn't seem like it was driven, but like I would think that like that's what everybody listened to it. Like it was the one podcast, and you don't usually have that for a league where like you have one podcast that everybody's listening to. And extra time I felt was that. So that was very strange when you texted me that. I was like, what? I was like, no way. It just didn't seem like it was a whole lot more production wise, but I guess it'll always come down to cost and how much that probably cost them to produce.
Yeah, this was sad for me because this is one of
Yeah.
the things that got me
Yeah, me too.
into the league. It was one of the things I was able to latch onto in that
Hmm.
2010 era, probably
Yeah.
when Billy enters the league and we have the World Cup. And I started listening and following more Major League Soccer. I would listen to Extra Time. It was a whole different crew back then.
Right.
You still had some of the same people, but you had like Jason Sagini as the host, and uh, there was all of these. They were so good. The intro was pretty much the same for most of its run, but with different clips that they would play. But it was just a good way to get people into it. It had good interviews with players and coaches that we don't really get anywhere else. I guess some of those have started being done by podcasters like us, independent podcasters, where
Hmm.
they'll have interviews with, um, you know, coaches and players in the off season or during the season. It's just sad, and it really, I put out a tweet that day that it broke the news, but I'm really puzzled by it. At one point, Logan, this was done like in studio, and you'd be able to watch
Yeah.
a YouTube copy of it as well. They
Hmm.
moved to Apple and pretty much cut the video part, go back to being um, just a audio podcast. They get rid of David Goss, and then I feel like that spelled some doom for it. So I don't know if it's cut because of less people listening or because they were just done with it at that point, but it really feels. Look, I was a big proponent for this Apple deal. I don't even think Apple's the one doing this stuff, I would say, because MLS is the one that is producing the
Yeah.
content.
Yep.
But it seems like when we thought this Apple deal might open up more
Hmm.
stuff for us to get, it's
It
actually ending up
closed more.
closing
Yeah.
more doors than we thought.
Agreed.
And that's kind of, if we were revisiting it now, I'm like, okay, so we don't even have the show anymore.
Right.
That would be, and of course we have wrap up, but that's focused on highlights, and there will
Yeah.
be probably minimal talk on there. But this show was enough to get us like information and news that happens after the season play and while we're building up to um, like the next week of results and stuff like that. And I just don't understand why you would remove a podcast that did so much of your league marketing. Like, this is, what else does the league produce other than the matches? We already just heard
Right.
too. Jonathan Tannenwald reported that a lot of these games are going to be broadcast off monitors.
Mhm.
Probably every game except for Sunday Night Soccer at this point. Why? Like, I know it's probably expensive to do all this, but we're entering year 3 into this MLS season pass, and the quality is going down each season. I don't understand why.
I think you've got a mix of things happening. I think advertisement is trying to find its way because I mean even more so now, like the last two, today is Super Bowl Sunday when we're recording this. That was known as the big, like there's a bunch of ads. Well, I mean now it's really shifted to like what's on your streaming platforms. Like, you know what I mean? I feel like advertisement is trying to find its footing again. I feel like this new era, and COVID had a lot of good things come out of it as far as like what we've learned about ourselves and like what's important. Awfully awful things that had obviously happened with everything that was going on in the world and pandemics and people dying, and like it was such a disruptive year. 2020 had so many things go on, and I think it's impacted the landscape of sports and how we view and digest content. Everything went short form, Jordan. Like everything got sucked down into TikTok. Well, then once TikTok started to get interrupted. And then now they're starting to figure out that a lot of these streaming things aren't really working like they thought. Disney Plus lost tons of subscribers, like all these network, or, it basically is like having network TV. We joked about it when we were in New Zealand because they don't have as many. We have, Jordan, I have like 30. I have like 30 subscriptions to different random like streaming platforms. And I think that's the issue, is that like they're trying to find footing. But podcasts, I feel like podcasts have really taken off. Like that's where a lot of people are going. Like they're going to podcasts, especially our age. Like I feel like everybody our age, Jordan, listens to a podcast because it's a good way to kill time when
or
working,
has
when
20
commuting.
of them that
Right, or has
make.
20 of them, like Jordan. Like Jordan produces most of my content for me. I don't have to go seek it. But yes, like I do. I feel like, and besides ourselves, Jordan, you got David Goss's podcast that he does with Tom
Bogert, yeah,
right, and then you got us, and then you got I-80, and then you got what, like
MLS Aces,
right,
MLS
Aces,
now,
MLS
right?
Gone Wild, right,
MLS Gone Wild, yeah,
right. So you've got content, but like the biggest one of them all, the one that we
Was
all
Extra
looked up
Time.
to, was Extra Time. Like that was 100%. If you, and everybody can say like they didn't model their show after that. That's 100% what we all model our, not our show. No, you're not like we're stealing content, but like that's what we wanted to be, was Extra Time. And I think it was so cool to have a podcast that went with the league. And I don't know what the league decided and why it decided that it didn't want one, but I don't know. I think maybe there was some, I mean, every brand's going to try to protect itself. That is also something I'm thinking about. I couldn't imagine the NFL having a NFL specific podcast that kind of ridiculed the league at times, because I think Extra Time did do that, like where they kind of held the league in check. And maybe that had something to do with it, because you don't want brand killers, which I'm not saying that we and them were, but I think they were, it's become that way, Jordan, where companies don't like to be criticized for things they're doing. I think that's part of it too.
Well, it's a shame.
Yes, it sucks. It really does.
It's a shame, and I'm not really sure where they go from here. I can tell you where T-Mobile customers go from here. They get MLS Season Pass for free again,
nice.
like the first season. So there you go.
Hear that, Verizon? Jordan and I are switching to
Do you have
T-Mobile.
Comcast?
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
like
Apple's partnering with Comcast to offer Xfinity customers integrated viewing experience for MLS Season Pass, which means bringing all the live matches directly into the Xfinity user interface, so customers can easily find and watch all the action alongside other live programming. As part of the partnership, customers will be able to sign up for MLS Season Pass directly through Xfinity, and every live match will be seamlessly incorporated throughout the viewing experience, including within the channel guide on X1 and the Xfinity Stream app and the Apple TV app. Comcast and Apple are also unlocking free access to MLS 360 for all Xfinity customers throughout the season. The first time, the popular Whip Around Studio show, which provides live look-ins to every match along with tons of ads, has been available without an MLS Season Pass subscription. And to celebrate the start of the 2025 season and the launch of a new viewing experience, Xfinity will offer all customers a free preview of MLS Season Pass from February 22nd to March 2nd, after which they will be able to subscribe to MLS Season Pass directly through Xfinity. So that's good in the sense that like people have always questioned, like with it being on Apple, how can I just stumble upon it if I am on my, well, you can through the Xfinity. It's on their streaming guide. So if you go through, you'll see, oh, LA versus San Diego, click that, boom.
Which is probably the owner of probably now the biggest cable network that people still subscribe to, would be Comcast, I would guess.
Comcast, probably, yeah. For the 2025 season, DirecTV residential customers can subscribe to Season Pass through DirecTV. Matches will be able to watch through the live DirecTV satellite guide on channels 480 through 495. Similar to how we just mentioned for Xfinity. So not going to go too far into that. More ways to celebrate the 30th MLS season. On February 21st, Apple TV Plus will premiere the highly anticipated 8-part panoramic documentary event Onside MLS Soccer, or Major League Soccer. I keep saying MLS Soccer because MLSsoccer.com. Yeah. Produced for Apple by the dynamic storytellers Box to Box Films, In partnership with Major League Soccer, the docuseries provides unprecedented access to players, coaches, clubs, and explores the electrifying moments and captivating stories that made the 2024 season unforgettable. The first episode of Onside will be available for free to all MLS Season Pass subscribers from February 21st to March 3rd. Watch the official trailer. So I think that's kind of a mistake as well here, is that you have to have Apple TV Plus to watch this show, and that the people that have MLS Season Pass will not even be able to watch it unless they have Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, that again, they're still trying to figure what this all means out, and I just don't think they've figured it out yet.
On Apple Music, you can enjoy exclusive club and player curated lists. Apple Maps can now have dedicated match day guides created by MLS clubs and city guides created by players.
That's a good idea.
To find recommendations for local bars and restaurants to catch a game, explore city favorites, find detailed information about their stadiums, and more. Apple Podcast users can now access the MLS Hub, which does not have our podcast on it, so you can just ignore that for
until they call us. Do not listen. No, I'm kidding. Extra time's out there, so
select Apple. Yeah, I know. I saw that. Like, it's over.
I was like,
Apple
I'm so
Store
confused.
Locations across the U.S., Canada, and Mexico will stream live MLS matches during MLS's back weekend. So that's all the big changes that are happening to this. Also, there's you can subscribe on the Apple Sports app, Apple News app. You can follow stuff there, all integrated within the Apple stuff, which is good. I kind of wish we got some sort of sign on how the league is doing on Apple. But they don't release numbers like that for anything. For any TV show of theirs, they do not release numbers. You can kind of go off of the top 10, the shows that are in the top 10. Severance is number 1 on every single day since season 2 has premiered pretty much. But yeah, so you can check that out and it'll show you that. So I'll be curious to see where Onside premieres on there. Apple TV Plus fans, I feel like, are more for like the prestige television. I don't know how many of them are going to check out a reality show about Major League Soccer. So kind of curious to see how that show's going to do. I think we're kind of learning the wrong lesson, I want to say, for these. Like, the first one that blew up was the F1, right? And that was on Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, even like quarterback, wide receiver, all of those premiered well on Netflix. Starting, what is the NBA one? Starting 5, starting lineup, whatever.
Yeah, starting 5, I think.
Those all are on Netflix. Now every league has one of these documentaries, pretty much. I mean, there's the golf one took off too on Netflix,
right?
But this is going to be on Apple TV Plus. So the thing that made F1, I would say, permeate. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Integrate with our culture, and somebody that never watched it and hasn't watched the documentary, I'm going off what other people have said, is because I would say, Logan, if you have a streaming service, there's probably a 95% chance you have Netflix.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It is the big one.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It was the OG.
Yeah, exactly. With that, it is this everybody has it. So it kind of acts like when you have a show on network television, right? Like one of the things that would grab people is I already have NBC and The Office is on. I heard good things. Let me watch that. Everybody has Netflix pretty much. So they're scrolling through Netflix and they say, oh, this is a F1 documentary. I've been curious about this. Let me check it out. Not as many people have Apple TV Plus. Not as many people familiar with Major League Soccer. Where does this land? I wouldn't be shocked if this will not make the same sort of culture splash as something like F1 Drive to Survive, because not as many people have Apple TV Plus. if this was on Netflix, which of course Apple would never let happen because they also have a competing streaming service, it would probably stand to make a more lasting impact, I think, than being on Apple TV.
Yeah, I think the toughest part too, though, I think people have to understand, especially with Apple, like Apple TV, like while it's going to do pretty well because of who it is and the brand that people know.
Good thing is it's worldwide as well, kind of like Netflix in the
Yes,
sense of like
other people can buy it.
right. There's no like
Yeah.
Hulu
There's no
issue
HBO Max
overseas.
issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Jordan, what I think another thing that it's just kind of a tell of where our economy, I think, is, not to get into the economy, and like this sounds crazy, but like I do feel like, Jordan, that Netflix, I think it's up to like $18 a month or something stupid now. Like, and people are
Yeah.
gonna obviously gravitate.
If you get premium, which
It's
is
like
like
20.
4K and
Yeah.
more screens, I think it's
Yeah, I
$25 a
think it
month.
is. Yeah.
More than
So
just Netflix.
right. So think about that over a month or a year span, right? You're starting to get up into like $200, $300 a year for some of these streaming platforms. And like people cannot afford that anymore. And if they're going to take a picture, and they're going to pick which one has their favorite shows, and I would almost guarantee that Netflix is still the reigning champion on that one, on that front, because they have more. And I do feel like, because Netflix is worldwide, like we've got Squid Games, which isn't produced in the US. Like that is something that can exist. Dairy Girls, which is a UK. Like there's so many shows. Stranger Things. You've got the last, or not last, that's the HBO. But you've got different shows, Jordan, that I think people have been around. It's been around forever. Outer Banks, like they've been all on Netflix, and I think people are going to gravitate towards Netflix. Like Friends was there forever. There were a lot of shows that were added in the '90s that are on Netflix. Like they've all made homes there, like Fuller House and them. So people are going to stay with Netflix, and that's all they can afford to pay for. They're not going to go out and buy HBO Max, which is insanely expensive. It always has been,
$16.99 or
right?
whatever. Yeah.
And then you add on these other ones that are, yeah, sometimes they're like $8 or $9, but that adds up, Jordan. You end up spending way more than you would have ever spent on like a direct TV subscription. You know what I mean? Like,
And I
it's
still have
absolutely
cable
insane.
in the sense of like
Right.
I have the Hulu Live TV,
Right.
which is effectively cable. But I get the bundle with Disney and ESPN and Hulu. So
Yeah,
like,
which is helpful.
yeah.
But that's still asking people. Like a lot of people have abandoned Disney Plus, but they like Hulu. So it's like, I don't
I've
know.
started just rotating stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
a lot of people do.
I've canceled Max
Me too.
when my Creature Commandos was done, and now I have Apple just in time for Severance season 2, and
Yep.
to make this MLS season pass $20 cheaper.
Right. Well, that's the other part.
And then I'll cancel Apple TV when that is, when some of this stuff is done, and I'll sign up for Max for Last of Us season 2, and like that's how I kind of have to balance those two occasionally.
Like, Jordan, could you imagine being one of those podcasts that was what your podcast or TikTok was about, is all these streaming platforms? And I know you've started that in a way, but like,
Yeah.
I'm talking like people's full-time job where they have to buy Showtime and like all these add-ons. Like, I mean, right. But, but then you got like all these sports, right? Like I would say you've got probably a third of the country that watches sports, like that are subscribing to these insane sports packages. NFL's brutal. Like,
and they're all spread out.
Oh
too.
yeah,
You
YouTube
got
TV,
NBA on Netflix, on Amazon coming up. You have
Max. It'll get NBA stuff now too.
Max,
like
because they're with
Peacock,
TNT and stuff. And you have Peacock with the live NFL games and exclusive playoff game, along with the Netflix Christmas games for the NFL, and baseball had the Apple TV games, as well as the Roku games, as well as it's a lot. It's spread out, and it makes it hard for people to watch. That's what I really loved about MLS Season Pass, is that just really one place for all the games, no blackouts.
Yeah, Premier League on Peacock.
Yeah, we'll see if they can get through that.
When they put Liga MX on HGTV Plus, I'm not buying that. Like,
you're not going to? No. Okay, let's talk about the new format for a lot of these cup competitions here. We have this handy graphic. I don't know who made this. I think it's official MLS graphic, but I saw it shared by Tom Bogert. First, all right, CONCACAF Champions Cup. We have, what is that, 10 clubs in it. We have Cincinnati Colorado, Columbus, LAFC, LA Galaxy, Inter Miami, RSL, Seattle, Sporting KC, and Vancouver Whitecaps have all qualified for the Champions Cup, the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Leagues Cup is not going to be a big summer tournament anymore, which is a plus, I would say, right? We have the first season was really fun, felt very World Cup-esque. We had a ball with it. Last season, I felt like we were kind of more on the, all right, this kind of took a wind
old.
out of the sails a bit here. This season is going to be kind of like the Champions League in the sense of these games will be played throughout the season on midweek, matches, and not every club is participating. We have 18 clubs participating, and I believe these are from their how well they did in the season, right? And for some reason, San Diego. But we have Atlanta, Charlotte, FC Cincinnati, Colorado, Columbus, Houston, LAFC, LA Galaxy, Inter Miami, Minnesota, Montreal, NYCFC, Red Bulls, Orlando, Portland, RSL, San Diego, and Seattle Sounders. The clubs that did not meet the qualifications, I guess, to get into the Leagues Cup are going to participate in the Open Cup. We have Austin, Charlotte. Well, actually, Charlotte's participating in both. Who knows how they did this, okay? Chicago, FC Dallas, DC United, Houston, Minnesota, Nashville, New England, NYCFC, Red Bulls, Orlando, the Philadelphia Union, Portland Timbers, Quakes, and St. Louis City. We also have some MLS Next Pro teams that are taking part, which we have. I can't even. This is so small, I can't even read who some of these are. But if you're watching on the graphic, there they are. Okay, we got 10 MLS Next Pro participants, 16 MLS participants, for a total of 26 MLS adjacent participants into the MLS into the U.S. Open Cup, which is interesting because who's not participating in this in some level, because we have 30 clubs that are MLS minus 3, right? Because of the 3 Canadian ones. So you should have 29. We have 20. No, we should have, 27. We have 26. San Diego. It's the only one not participating. Are they?
Yeah, Leagues Cup.
No, in Open Cup, I mean.
Oh, Open Cup. Yes, correct. Yes.
So they're the one team.
Looks like Wigan Athletic is playing. That's kind of cool.
That is not. Yeah.
The logo looks like Wigan Athletic.
It does kind of. I have to pull what these.
I can't see that.
But some of these are actually independent clubs, like Chattanooga, and the team next to Chattanooga, which I can't read off the top of my head here. So I'm trying to pull up MLS Next Pro and figure out what this club is. Carolina Core. So we have 2 independent clubs. So actually, those are minus another 2. So we have 24 MLS clubs participating in some fashion with Open Cup when we have 27 US-based ones. So 3 teams are not participating, which seems to be San Diego is one of them. I don't see Galaxy as one of them because they'll be participating in both Champions Cup and Leagues Cup. And I don't see LAFC. Oh, LAFC's on there. Seattle's is Tacoma Defiance. So they're on there. What is the one with the tree? I don't see them. Oh, they're in the West, I guess. Hold on.
You got Tacoma Defiance and
Ventura County.
Yeah. I'm trying to pull up a list of all the MLS teams because this is like that game where you play and you trying to guess all the states and you're always missing one.
Yeah. Or you're like Sporkle when you're on Sporkle.
Yeah. All right, let's go through this. Revolution there. Yes. DC. Yes. Chicago. Yes. Columbus. Yes. Red Bull. The Canadian teams have been removed. Union are there. NYC. Yeah. Atlanta.
Yeah, you're right. Atlanta.
Which is weird because Atlanta's only in
one comp.
Wow. All right. Wait, where are the Rapids? Who's playing as the Rapids? Is that one of those teams?
No. Oh, maybe. I don't know. Who's Ventura County? I
I'm
feel like
guessing that's the
that's
Real's there. Real Salt Lake's there.
Ventura County should be in California, so I'm trying to figure out who that would be.
Oh, Tacoma. Right? No,
Tacoma's
that's Washington.
Seattle.
That's right. What?
This is riveting podcasting material. Ventura County FC is the equivalent of LA Galaxy 2. So they are the LA Galaxy 2. Okay.
Strange. Okay, so then the Rapids are the one, not the.
So Rapids, Atlanta, San Diego, and one other team is not participating in the Open Cup, which is okay. I'm never going to get it by just looking at this.
Nashville, LA Galaxy, Sporting Kansas City, Houston Dynamo over there. Dallas is there. Earthquakes.
Yes. Yep. The Earthquakes. Okay. There you go. There you have it.
We figured it out.
No, Quakes are on here.
What? Oh, shoot. Oh, no. Seattle's there. Vancouver. Yeah. Portland? No. Minnesota? No. St. Louis is there. Austin. You know what, Jordan? These are all fake teams. This is not real. This is a figment of our imagination.
Who cares? They're going to get knocked out first game anyway. All right? Whoever it is.
This is so confusing.
We have the Canadian Championship, which of course has 3 participants in it from MLS because it's the 3 Canadian teams in MLS. Okay. We spent way too long on that.
I think it was the Columbus Crew.
No, they were on there. They were on there.
Damn. Well, we're fired.
Never going to find it out.
Yeah.
Okay. We had a new intra-league cash transfer as we start going into our transfers section here. We had a new system come in. This has been rumored for quite some time. Tom Bogert put a piece on GiveMeSport.com about it. But essentially, you're able to send cash to them that's not GAM, it's not TAM, it's not any of the AMs, and it's not a trade. It is a transfer within the league for money, and the first one to have done it is the Philadelphia Union, making their odd move of sending Jack McGlynn to Houston Dynamo for $2.1 million and keeping a sell-on fee for that.
Wasn't Jovalich's first?
It was the first reported one, I believe, but the first official one, I believe,
official.
was the Jack McGlynn.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was depending on which one would go through first. But yeah, Jovelich was also being sent over from LA Galaxy to, where did he go?
Sporting Kansas City.
Sporting Kansas City, that's right. Testing you.
I haven't pulled up.
So what's your thoughts on having interleague cash transfer here?
Okay, so how I've read this, Jordan, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what we've got here is the rich are going to keep getting richer because they are able to pay. Owners are able to now pay out of pocket. So like clubs like Atlanta United, LAFC, Miami, Galaxy, they're going to be able to spend a lot more cash. Austin. Because now it's just like what you would see normally in the European League, where GAM and TAM aren't used. If they do buy a DP, it has to remain a DP. They cannot buy them down out of a DP contract. So that's really important to realize, which I think, Jordan, that actually might keep them kind of at least at bay, because I felt like if they could have bought, if they go, say Sporting Kansas City was like, I'm going to go buy Luis Suarez when Suarez is, Miami's not playing as well this year, probably. I'm going to go buy Luis Suarez. And then like they buy him down out of a DP contract that allows them to keep that DP spot open. I kind of like that they have to keep him as a DP until their contract originally ends. So I like that. I don't know if I think, Jordan, this is the beginning of the end for GAM and TAM. I felt like it was eventually going to get to this, and you and I have talked about this some, where we thought that it's eventually just become like any other U.S. I think sport, in the fact that I think you're going to see the league starting to loosen up the restrictions on roster rules, because that's how you grow the league. We'd always talked about 4 DP spots. I think that eventually comes. And then I think eventually it just becomes this salary cap, maybe, or, just like any other US sport, like maybe MLB, where it's less salary cap based and they have like aprons, where I think that's more likely. Because I just feel like, one, the U.S. is a capitalistic country, and so are their owners. So they want as much money as possible. And how do you make as much money as possible, Jordan? You pay the best players in the league. You have the best roster in the league by paying for the best players. And then that's when it becomes a league like every other American sport. So I think we're heading in that way. I think this is the direct I think this is what we've all kind of been waiting for. This is interesting for us. If you have a team that spends, maybe if you're a Union fan, you woke up and went, well, this isn't good. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's
we'll see.
how we woke up. Yeah.
We'll see. Orlando's always spent. So I'm like, yeah, that's okay for us. Like, I mean, we're not going to be able to spend as with the big dogs, but I mean, the Minnesota Vikings owners are not necessarily cheap. The Wilf family is as well pocketed, but I like it, Jordan, but I do think that this is where we're going to start to see the league turn into more of the American sport type.
So here's how Tom Bogert posted it here. Previously, teams could only trade allocation money, players, or other MLS-specific assets to acquire players. They can now acquire up to 2 players and trade away up to 2 players per year for cash. Teams can also still use GAM and other assets to acquire players as well. They're calling this they are officially calling it the where
cash for players.
Okay. Cash for player trade. Yeah.
That sounds really weird.
The amount of cash, here's a good thing. Trade it must be disclosed in the release announcing the trade. This is the most we've ever had. Even the GAM trades would just sometimes say for GAM. It wouldn't say how much money. It would take a reporter getting that information if they were able to. Same thing with transfers out of the country. That gets reported on by like people like Tom Bogert and other insiders, but the club never had to really specify when they would transfer players out as well. That would take some sort of insider knowledge. This is now we actually have it pretty open of, hey, we sent $2.1 million to Philly to get Jack McGlynn here in Houston. All right, thank you. Now we can actually base our knowledge, all of that kind of stuff. Is this actually a good trade? We can discuss this. Is this a good cash for player trade? Now that we actually know the terms of this type of stuff, it allows us to say that. Before, when it was just made up money like GAM going around the places and international roster spots, we'd be like, is this good? Yeah, I guess. Like, I don't know. It depends what they do with that roster spot, right? But when you have something like this that's a little bit more like a normal transfer, if you're talking about like outside of the U.S., this is how transfers worked in leagues for a long time. You can kind of base that stuff off of actual knowledge now on how much was traded and how much was transferred over. So I like that. Like you said, they have to stay a U22 or a DP for the duration of their current contract. So we'll see how that works. But yeah, there's been just a few I think just those 2. But Evander is an option as well. There was talks about him going to like somewhere like Cincy, and Lucho Acosta, which is maybe another option if he stays in the league. What this also helps do, Logan, this helps players stay in the league. I think that is a big thing as well. Jack McGlynn gets a transfer for $2 million. He goes over to Houston. That keeps him in the league. If Union wanted to make $2 million on him before, they would have had to transfer him outside of the league.
Yeah.
And look, McGlynn might go anyway after he's done with Houston, but it just shows that there is a way, like Evander. We've talked about this before. There's been players like Evander that have been so good, and if you want to make money off of him, you would have to transfer him outside of the league to make that flip. When clubs like Atlanta would get players like Miguel Almiron and stuff, and they would get these players young, their goal was always flip them overseas to make money. You don't necessarily have to do that anymore. But you do risk upsetting your fans if you trade your young player like Jack McGlynn to a in the league rival of Houston Dynamo, where they will have to face Houston and face McGlynn again, the Philadelphia Union. That does open you up to some more criticism with that as well. So be curious to see how it shakes out throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good in the fact that it keeps people here, and that's what
Yeah,
we've been trying to do. And like you said, you weren't going to make money in Gam and Tam. People didn't have that $2 million in Gam and Tam ever to throw at people.
Yeah.
So this keeps people in the league. It's going to get interesting because you're going to end up having, like you said, to trade really good players like Joveljic to teams inside of the conference. So that'll be interesting. It'll be a fun follow. But I do think that this is the beginning of something that we're going to see a bigger overhaul of the transfer system, at least for MLS.
Okay, let's talk about some of the transfers, right?
Okay.
We have some Atlanta United updates here. Klisch from DC United, they got him in a trade. Miguel Almiron, who I just mentioned, is coming back after 6 years at Newcastle. I can't believe it's been 6 years at Newcastle, honestly. I thought he just went there. This is how time flies. But he is coming back to Atlanta United. Club legend Miguel Almiron took them to a MLS Cup. And then they also signed Emmanuel Latte Lath from Middlesbrough FC. That was a transfer that just went through a few days ago. And I don't know how true this number is. I was trying to find it. But it looks like they've spent about $30 million this offseason. Something like that.
I was going to say 22 transfer for... wait, what was Lath? He was 20...
He's the highest ever, I think, in MLS.
Yeah,
signing.
he arrives for 22 million.
And then how much was Almiron?
Almiron was 10 million.
32 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Do you remember how much Union have spent in their 15-year history?
Was it like 31 or something?
17 million transfers.
No. Is that right?
Yeah, on transfers, yes. Their
Dude.
like highest transfer ever is like $2 million. I mean, like,
that's insane. I mean, we talked about blank check. You and I actually, I think you and I were one of the first ones to joke about it, like that he was going to come in and make big changes. And my goodness, he added probably guys that could be two of the best players in the league, like besides, the ones down south in Miami. But like, he basically overhauled the team in two just signings. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna go spend a lot of money. And
Lagerwey. I mean, he comes over from Seattle. He's built RSL. He built Seattle's winning teams. And you look at him and what he's doing right now with Atlanta. I would feel pretty good if I'm an Atlanta fan. Like, I think it's interesting too, Almiron coming back, because it is not with the same leadership who sold him, right? Like, it's Lagerwey coming over and being like, oh yeah, let's go get that guy. He was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what's funny too, is like how good he's been in the Premier League. Like he's been a starter for Newcastle, who'd been one of the,
I thought he's usually looked pretty good.
He has.
I know some people were maybe a little bit more down on his time there, but I thought he played a role, right? And now he's going to be coming back, and I mean, he's a Premier League player. I mean, he's coming over back here, so this will be great. How old is he now? Because he was pretty
30.
young, I think. Is he 30?
Mm-hmm. And he's going to be a DSP spot. And then Mateus Klick is one of the he's a Premier League player too, and so is Lath. So
he's turning 31 tomorrow.
Okay.
Turning 31 tomorrow. Wow!
But you're bringing in 3 Premier League quality players. Like, that's solid. You don't typically see that in MLS, and Atlanta's opened the door, Jordan, and we'll also talk about coaches next, because that's it's going to get real interesting, I think, in Atlanta. They think they're starting to solidify themselves as a really tough team in this league. When you bring in Ronnie Dyla, it's like, oh dear.
That is a really interesting coach, right? To come over here. He's got experience with the league. He's
success in the league
with NYCFC and stuff. So that'll be curious to see how he does at Atlanta. I think it'll be. They're like, not to spoil anything, but they're probably a team to watch for me. I don't know
Me
how.
too.
I'm not like talking anything surprising, I would say, but I would say they're a team that I could see being. If I'm looking at three powerhouse teams in the East, it'd be like Miami, Cincinnati, and Atlanta would be teams that I'd be like, whoa, those are some good teams. And it really depends on what Cincy does with Lucho
With
and stuff.
Lucho,
But
yeah.
or how they replace Lucho. Let's say they bring in Evander and Lucho leaves, I'd be like, they're still a pretty good damn team.
Cincinnati. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that they're a team like Cincinnati. This could go really poorly or really well. Just depends on what happens. Yeah. Like that, Cincinnati's still in that weird gray area where Atlanta's just going to keep adding. Orlando's lost quite a bit as far as Facundo Torres is concerned, and it'll be dependent upon who they brought in and if he does well. But I think Atlanta's easily a top 4 team. Not to spoil our predictions show, but. These are, I mean, again, Almiron Jordan, I think people forget he was like, he's like Lucho in them. Like he's a league MVP candidate automatically when you throw him into the mix.
He's going to play somewhere he's familiar with. Not that like everybody is the same or anything, but I mean, like, he doesn't have to worry about getting settled in Atlanta, like the city. He knows Atlanta. He's been there. He was a star there. Like they will automatically already love him as soon as he walks back in the building, the fans. So don't have to worry at all about that. He'll be given time to make adjustments as well because people know the quality he has, I think. It's not like it'd be different if he had went to another MLS team where I think they'd be like, all right, this guy we spent big money on. We saw him do well at Atlanta. He's supposed to come in here and do well immediately. But I think Atlanta would give him more time if he even stalls a bit because he's a club legend. So interesting there. Austin FC. This was an interesting transfer. Brandon Vasquez coming back from CF Monterrey already. When did he leave?
Last year, right?
It had to be like maybe mid 23.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, because they had a hard time getting off of him. They finally moved him. Yeah, that was last year because they played him in CONCACAF Champions League, Monterrey.
Yeah, so he left early 2024, I guess around a year ago, to Monterrey. Yeah. He went 40 appearances, 10 goals. Not great. And he's back.
Yeah.
Now to Austin. His third MLS club, by the way. He started at Atlanta, went to FC Cincinnati. Now he's at Austin.
Yeah. Again, one of the top goal scorers in the league before he left. So, Austin. Look at Austin doing something that's productive because they just got rid of everybody that we've ever known getting, them covering the team. That's going to be a whole new roster we'll have to go through because that's a new look Austin team, Jordan.
Yeah. That's one way to put it. Okay. Charlotte brought in Eric Williamson in a trade from the Timbers, and they signed Wilfried Zaha on loan from Galatasaray. What do we think Zaha has left in the tank here?
Yeah, that'll be interesting. 32 years old. He scored 100 goals and 59 assists in 524 professional matches. Recently on loan with Lyon. He's played for Crystal Palace. He had 90 goals and 458 for the Premier League side. I think with him, the biggest thing that I remember is that there always seemed to be some kind of issue with him. Like it was whether he wasn't scoring and was kind of a chirpy player and had an attitude, or I don't know. Like it'll be interesting to see how Dean Smith coaches him this year, just because he is a polarizing player. I think I do believe that he could be a good player in this league, but it's also like somebody with this pedigree. There's always that one player in the mix, Jordan, that I feel like comes over with a good hype around him. Zaha might be that kind of guy where he comes over. He's had tremendous success in the Premier League, in Liga 1. But I feel like, I don't know, something about him. I don't know if it necessarily translates well to MLS. So, but again, he could be very similar to Christian Benteke, who, he's a goal scorer, and they bring him over and they put him in a
Crystal Palace.
Right. So we'll see. But I feel like Zaha might, I feel like Zaha might be the one that we kind of look at and go, man, I wish there was more there, but there's just not.
Yeah, let's see. He's, been at Palace most of his career, really.
Mhm.
Then he went to United for 2 years and made 2 appearances. That was a crazy time. That he was on loan at Palace, loan at Cardiff, back to loan at Palace. Then went to Palace again until 2023. Galatasaray for only 30 appearances and 9 goals. Then Lyon on loan for 4 appearances, and then now to Charlotte. Yeah, so we'll have to see how he does at Charlotte. I think he can be like a Benteke and score and stuff. Benteke is 2 years older than Zaha, both from playing a lot at Crystal Palace. I think that can work. It's just I would say it's going to depend on his mentality when he comes in here. You know? But I think if he can score at like Crystal Palace, he can score in MLS. So I'm not too worried about that. But we'll see how his body holds up and how he does. Chicago under Greg Berhalter signed Jack Elliott as a free agent. They bring in Zinkernagel from Club Brugge,
Great
if I said that
name.
right. They bring in Leonardo Barroso from Sporting CP. And they bring in Jonathan Bamba from Celta de Vigo. So bringing in some big players, Chicago, not like big names, but, bringing in enough to – look, they're doing more than Philadelphia Union are at this stage. So pretty good. FC Cincinnati, we're kind of worried about Lucho leaving. He's been, working out by himself, training by himself. Not really sure what to make of that, where the breakdown is in that relationship, but we'll see. I heard him and I'm blanking right now on the general manager's name.
Pat Noonan and who's the head of them?
Oh, Albright, Chris Albright.
Albright, there you go.
But they had a falling out. Who knows? Usually down to money or something, right?
Those Philadelphia Union tree, baby.
Hey, they're actually spending over there.
All right, well.
Now, the Crew have lost some players here. They're losing Chucho. He's at Real Betis. He did not feature in their last game that they just played. And they lost Matan, right? Out of contract. But, we've also seen them trade some Christian Hernandez. Was it Christian Hernandez left?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
He
Ramirez,
is now Ramirez. Sorry, yeah, I was thinking Chucho Hernandez. There you go.
Combining them.
Christian Ramirez, former Loon and former Crew member now, is been shipped out. He's where Galaxy, right? Galaxy
yeah, I think so.
So I'm really curious to see how the Crew is going to. I saw some like Union fans be like, "Oh, Crew is dismantling their team as well," and I responded, "Well, at least they won trophies before they started dismantling their team." Unlike certain teams that I'm a fan of. Okay, so we'll see how they do. I think they'll be good. I just don't know if they'll be in that echelon that they were before.
Yeah. They'll be competitive.
Unless they bring in somebody good,
right? And they're like a player away again from being a top team. Like that's what I feel with the Crew. I feel like they've probably fallen down like to the 4th or 5th spot, but not. They're just they're coached so well. So I just don't. I really do think they're one of those teams that just kind of replenish their talent and they'll move.
Shaq Moore moved from Nashville. He's going to Dallas. Anderson Julio going from RSL to Dallas, so Dallas adding some
good talent,
some players. Yeah, I wish I would have seen them do some more though. So far, they haven't really done a lot.
Oh, they've done a lot. They've exited players.
Yeah, but I mean, like they haven't brought.
We'll get to that.
We'll talk about that with Seattle, right? Look, we're not really going to talk much DC United right now. No. They didn't do anything. Houston brought in Jack McGlynn. He really fits their style, so we'll see how that goes. They moved on from Hector Herrera, so he's gone. LAFC bring in Ibobasi as a free agent, and then they get a loan from Odin Thiago Holm that they're bringing in from Celtic. LA Galaxy bringing in Matthias Jorgensen from RSC Anderlecht and Lucas Sanabria from Club Nacional. And out is Dejan Joveljic, who's going to SKC. I think that's a bad move for the Galaxy. I really think Joveljic has been underrated. I'd love to see him in Sporting Kansas City, where he's probably going to play a lot more. And he can make that team pretty good, I think. Okay, Inter Miami. Get ready for a list here. They bring in Fafa Picault. They have also brought in Rocco Rios Novo, the goalkeeper, Maxi Falcone, Talasco Segovia, and Tadio Allende and Gonzalo Luyon. So some big list of players here. Fafa Picault, the one that really stands out to me, and Rocco Rios Novo. I've heard of him. But the rest, not too familiar with, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, like Miami has changed their whole layout for Messi, right? Didn't the guy that just got fired was somebody that clashed with Messi on a bus?
I was gonna say, yeah, they basically have cleaned out everybody that surrounded those three and went, all right, let's bring in some new players. Which again, they're Miami; they can do whatever they want. And Tata's gone. So we'll get to that, but he's gone.
Yeah. Okay, Minnesota United. Not so much I'm going to focus on the players in, but the players out. We're losing Teemu Pukki.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's gone to Helsinki.
Yeah, that sucks. Like,
Pukki was fun.
Yeah. Again, here's Minnesota United. I can't wait to preview just because I feel like Minnesota United's ready for some kind of reaming. Like, they need help.
Oh, yeah.
They just constantly circle the drain.
Montreal loses Joseph Martinez, Victor Wanyama, Lapalainen, all gone. Option declined. That's going to be a whole new look team for Montreal, I feel like. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. They brought in a couple players. We'll talk probably more about who they brought in on the preview, but nobody big. Revolution, they bring in Campagna, right? They did a trade with Inter Miami there. They got no Buck coming back from his loan at Southampton, and they signed Max Urruti. So curious to see how the Rebs will do under Caleb Porter going into year 2. NYCFC, they re-signed Maxi Morales. Red Bulls bring in Tim Parker as a free agent.
He's back.
Yeah, back in the red. They got rid of John Tolking, who went over to Germany, and Van Zier is gone to Ghent. So we'll see how Red Bulls. They were a surprise team last season on how well they were doing. Some big changes for them. Orlando City, Jack Lynn retired. Facundo Torres got transferred to Palmeiras, and then they bring in Nicolas Rodriguez and Marco Pasalic. Not too familiar with either of those. We'll see how they adjust to MLS. Philadelphia Union, players out. Jack Elliott, Leon Flock, Joaquin Torres, Jack McLinn. All of those players are gone. They bring in a defender, Ian Glavinovich from Old Boys, and they bring in a midfielder, Jovan Lukic. People kind of see him as the replacement of Leon Flack here. So see how he plays. It's hard to tell with the Union, too, because there will be a lot of those signings that they bring in that never play for the first team. There's been a few of those.
Yeah.
Or players like Baribo that took forever to get implemented in the team. So I can't even say these players are going to be immediate impact players, but they have to be with how thin the squad is, I think. So Timbers have brought in a couple players, nobody big, but they have, we talked about Eric Williamson going to Charlotte. RSL, they lose a lot of players. Chicho Arango going to San Jose Earthquakes. We'll talk about that in a minute. Matt Crooks goes to Hull City. Anderson Julio went to FC Dallas. And Rubio Rubin, option denied, or declined, not denied. And they bring in Kobe Henry from Stade Reims. But a new look for RSL, who was at one point very high in the West last season before kind of plummeting a little bit. But they were at one point like the best club in MLS, especially when they played Philly here.
Yeah, the Chicho thing, I think, will it shocked a lot of people. I mean, arguably one of
He's
the
a player
best
you
goal
build around.
scorers.
I don't
Yeah,
understand why you ship him out.
it's it almost is like the spelling of a dawn of the day, like at them, like they're just like a new day, new team. We need more players in, and RSL Jordan, like I feel like they went through that rebrand and they started to kind of build around Chicho, and then they've played really well. They've had 2 seasons since we've covered them that they've been one of the top teams in the Western Conference, and then all of a sudden they just implode. Mostly because you visit them. You've ruined many of their teams.
True. I went to one, and then they fell apart shortly after we were there to see them in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
So I apologize.
Jordan is the RSL killer. So just as long as Jordan doesn't go near your guys' team, you should be fine. But yeah, the Chicho one that floored me, and then the way we're getting into the next team, man, they've just decided they're going to go add veteran players that have always played in this league.
I love this, by the way. The Earthquakes, this is the first time we've seen like real ambition from the Earthquakes. They sign Bruce Arena as their manager. Yep. They come in and get Mark Anthony Kaye in a trade. They get Dave Romney from a trade, the same trade. They get Chicho Arango from RSL. They get Joseph Martinez as a free agent. Yeah. And we saw how well Arena had the Revolution going. He goes and gets 2 players from that team that can be like, I would say his men in this team that would be like, hey, we worked with Bruce before. If anybody hasn't, this is how it is. They'll be team leaders, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I'm really excited for the Earthquakes. I think Arena is enough of a guy that can come in and change around just from his philosophy of coaching and how he gets people bought in. But then you bring in 4 players that have MLS experience, have been really good players in this league. Joseph Martinez, Chicho Arango, that's 2 good forwards that you're going to have. Probably leaning more on Chicho than Joseph, but good to have off the bench. You have Dave Romney as a defender, Mark Anthony Kaye in the midfield. He added players in each phase of the game already, so I'm feeling really optimistic for the most optimistic I've been about the Earthquakes in years, which means they're probably going to finish wooden spoon.
You just cursed them. But yeah, no, I the Bruce Arena signing, I think you and I agreed on that one, where it's just like you bring in somebody of that caliber, of that manager who also has front office experience, who's going to be able to make the decisions that he's going to be able to make. San Jose's, it's looking good for you guys. I think this might be where San Jose really starts to turn this around, and you've got some really good players to start that turnaround.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it goes. Seattle is another interesting one because they lose Raul Ruiz, but they bring in Jesus Ferreira and Paul Arriola from FC Dallas.
U.S. men's national team, cuff players, baby.
I love this for Seattle too, because these were players that were good at Dallas, but they didn't have the rest of the team around them. Now they're going to a Seattle that has a really good strength squad around them. They can be real difference makers, I think. I'm loving this.
Imagine this, right? Jordan Morris, Paul Arriola, Jesus Ferreira, like playing together. Like that is a spear. So we'll see how the U.S. men's national team faithfuls do, because I'm interested to see how Jesus fits the most, because I feel like Jesus has always been right there with Dallas. I think Seattle and the way that they play, I think this might put him over the top, man. When this move was made, I texted you. I was like, I really like this for Jesus, because I feel like this is finally a system and they've got some kind of direction there instead of playing in Dallas. It's got no direction.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And we'll see. I saw some Seattle fans kind of not as on board with it, but
I could see that. I could see why.
Yeah, because you're losing somebody like Raul Ruiz,
right,
but you're signing Jesus Ferreira, who does score goals, and he is still young. So, I like that a lot. Sporting KC bring in Joveljic from LA Galaxy, Manu Garcia, and Shapi Suleimanov. If I said that right. They lose, though, Tim Melia, Johnny Russell, Remy Walter, Alan Polito. Polito got transferred. The rest are out of contract. So I guess they could realistically come back at some point, but it's been months, so I don't know if that's going to happen. But yeah, so some of those players may still be available. St. Louis hasn't done much. Vancouver hasn't done much. They lose Casado and Pico though, so Vancouver will take a step back, I think, here. Okay, so let's take a look at San Diego's roster real quick, and then I guess some of the coaching changes that have happened. But San Diego, they have quite a few players that they have brought in. We didn't cover the expansion draft. There wasn't too much to really worry about it. They bring in Diop from the expansion draft. They brought in Lawfulsend from the expansion draft. Gickling Bruseth brought in from the expansion draft. That was it. They bring in a few players from trades and transfers. Alex Mighton, who is a USA and England international, transfer from Nottingham Forest. I remember seeing that name a lot where people were saying, oh, he could be a U.S. men's national team player. Chucky Lozano coming in from Eindhoven. They brought in Anders Dreyer from Anderlecht, Emmanuel Boateng from New England Revolution, Tomas Angel from LAFC. This is, of course, Juan Pablo Angel's kid coming over from LAFC. Annabelle Godoy comes in. Luca de la Torre from Celta de Vigo. Let's talk about this a bit. I saw people really giving him a problem online, Luca de la Torre. One, because I guess a couple years ago or months ago, whatever it was, I think it was 6 months ago or something like that, he was saying that he can't see himself playing in a league without relegation, all that kind of stuff. And what do you know? He comes to MLS. I've seen a lot of the U.S. men's national team fan faithful giving him problems for coming over here at the age of, what age is he, like 26?
Yeah, he's younger.
And that he should still be trying in Europe and all this kind of stuff. He was probably offered so much money to be in San Diego. San Diego can say they have a U.S. men's national team player. I don't think we can really take what a lot of players say in the media as 100% gospel until they are offered a situation like this. Obviously he's going to say how great relegation is when his team is in a league with relegation or battling for relegation. Maybe that's what his thought was at the time, but then he gets an offer to go to San Diego and he's like, I can live in San Diego where it's like 70 degrees all the time and beautiful weather. And I think we care too much about decisions other people make about their career when it's their career. I don't think the U.S. men's national team is in worse shape with Luca de la Torre going to San Diego. Because while he did play for us a bit and is a good player, he's not like an untouchable starter in the starting 11 for the U.S. men's national team. So I'm not too heartbroken by this, but the way some people reacted were like losing their minds. It was really mind-blowing to me.
Yeah. I hate the I have a love-hate relationship with U.S. men's national team fandom just because
Same.
it's like, it's funny when you celebrate the successes of Jordan Morris in this league, and then they're like, oh man, give Jordan Morris a shot on this team. And I know Jordan's older, but it's like, okay, well, same goes for anybody else that's played in this league that's had success. Like, I just don't understand the hate behind it. And De La Torre is going to be a depth piece. I feel like Pochettino really does like him. So, I mean, who cares where he's playing? Like, as long as he's playing football and he's in shape, and I think he's a really good player. Still young, still could go back to Europe. Like, nothing's stopping him from being back there next year. Like, just to stop somewhere else. And MLS is getting better. Like, and guys have said that. I mean, you've got guys that are, hell, one of his teammates might be Kevin De Bruyne here soon. So like, it doesn't make sense to me when teams are so like, our fans are so up in arms against players coming to MLS when it's like, we got to grow this league somehow. And if he becomes one of the top players in this league or for San Diego, then he's done exactly what he's needed to do. So.
Yeah, I also saw a lot of fans be mad at the union for transferring McGlynn to Houston instead of overseas. We don't know what Jack wanted.
Right.
But people are like, they did this against Jack's will. And I'm like, we actually have no clue what Jack McGlynn wanted or if he's totally cool with this. So let's not speak for people, is what I would say. But who knows? Let's talk some of these coaching changes that have happened. TFC, John Herdman left, right? We don't know if it has to do with the investigation with Canada's cheating or what, but he's gone. They bring in Robin Fraser, which I know you and a few others were kind of like, not a great move.
Yeah.
In my opinion, with how late we were into the preseason, I thought getting somebody like Robin Fraser is a good move. I was kind of worried where TFC would be able to go after not having a coach after Herdman left, with not having a lot of the same candidates available. So I thought it's fine. Like, is it amazing? No, but I do think he can, he is somebody that's done well in the league before. So curious to see how that goes. NYCFC, Nick Cushing left. Pascal Janssen is coming in. Not too familiar with him. Vancouver Whitecaps, Vanni Sartini is gone as well with his great quotes. And we got Jesper Sorensen coming in. Inter Miami moved on from Tata Martino, where he moved on from them. Javier Mascherano, former player. It makes me feel really old that he is now a coach and that he is going to be coaching Messi.
Well, if it helps, he's only 40, so
yeah, still
he's very young.
I remember him playing with Messi, and now he's coaching Messi.
What do you think about being his first coaching gig? This high-profile coaching Messi.
I don't have as much a problem with that as some people, I guess, because I think in every league but this, when it comes to soccer, I guess, every sport but this, you get a lot of first-time coaches that have no experience coming in. You'll have like, maybe they were a coordinator somewhere or something, but like you'll get a lot of first-time coaches that come in and never coached professionals or at this level and they'll turn a team around. The fact is he has a relationship with players like Suarez and Messi that I'm feeling it might work out,
Okay. Yeah.
We'll see. The Philadelphia Union, Jim Curtin got fired for unknown reasons, and Bradley Carnell got hired for unknown reasons. I'm just kidding. That's a little mean to Bradley Carnell. I didn't think he should have got fired from St. Louis when he did mid-season after his first year where they won the West. But it just turns out to be one of those things where you're like, you fired Curtin for Carnell?
Right.
I don't think they did. I think they were trying to get somebody else and it didn't work out. And then they
I think so too.
Fall to the next coach, but we'll see how he does. I was wrong about Curtin originally too. I was not a big fan of the Curtin hire. I wanted him fired after some of those US Open Cup losses, and then we turn out to be one of the best teams in MLS. So I could be completely wrong about Bradley Carnell as well. I think my problem now lies mostly with Tanner and who he's bringing in, because he hasn't brought in anybody. Chicago Fire got rid of Frank Klopas. Don't worry, he'll be back again. They rehire him all the time. Greg Berhalter is the incoming manager for Chicago.
Bounce passes in Chicago, baby. We love it.
Yeah, baby. Gonna win the World Cup. Austin FC, Josh Wolf was gone. Davey Arnaud was the interim, but now Nico Estevez is coming in.
What is he? He's just Houston short of the Texas trio. Like, is that?
Yeah,
is that,
I think so.
Has he ever coached Houston?
I don't think so.
Oh boy.
Bradley Carnell was fired from St. Louis. John Hackworth, the former Union coach, was the interim. And then Olaf Melberg coming in to be the manager there. Luchi Gonzalez fired from San Jose. Ian Russell was the interim. Bruce Arena is the new coach. Dallas fired Nico Estevez. They had an interim manager, Peter Lucen, but Eric Quill is their new manager. Atlanta United, Gonzalo Pineda fired. Rob Valentino hired as interim, but then fired. And Ronnie Delia is now the coach there. Nashville fired Gary Smith. Roomba Montali, was the interim, but BJ Callahan, former U.S. national team assistant coach, coming in as the manager there. It would be really... Gary Smith was there for so long. I'm really curious to see how a new manager does with Nashville, because I don't really think the problem was coaching. So
no, it's personnel. They have
that's what I
issues
think.
getting. They basically have union themselves. Like they're there. They were there. They just can't get there.
Yeah.
The Union were better, obviously, but like Nashville, same thing. Nashville was on the cusp of being one of the best teams in the MLS, and they just could never get.
They were in a
enough
Leagues
players.
Cup
They had Hani
final.
Mukhtar. Yeah, like that's it. That's all they really had. So it was like, what do you do? Walker Zimmerman. Like they just don't have. They needed a bigger raw, and they have money. I don't know, I just didn't get it. I like BJ Callahan though. He coached really well with the U.S. men's national team when he was with very little left that Greg Berhalter left. But man, Jordan, there are some wild signings. There are a lot of seats that are already going to be pretty hot and heat up quickly. Like I feel like Nico Estevez, like that's a disaster. Greg Berhalter is underwhelming for Chicago. He's had success in MLS, but like we'll see how that goes. I don't know. Bradley Carnell for Philly. Mascherano's got no experience, so we'll see how that goes. And I'm a lot different. I just don't think Robin Fraser is somebody that leads very well, but we'll see.
All right. Well, that'll pretty much wrap us up here as we'll get ready for next week. Or I guess later this week, whenever we're doing it. But we're going to start releasing our Eastern Conference preview, where we'll talk more in depth about the transfers, the state of the clubs as we go into it. Do we want to do a prediction show, or do we want to do like Eastern Conference predictions at the end of the preview?
We'd still have a hard time because you would be like league MVP, and then
true.
You know what I mean? Like the MVP awards show and like all that stuff.
Maybe, yeah. We'll discuss it.
I could see like maybe if we did prediction
the table.
Yeah.
Maybe we do the table prediction for the East on the Eastern preview, the West on the Western, and then we do like a prediction show of Golden Boot, MVP, all that. That'd make that episode a little shorter.
Yes.
And since we just talked some transfers here, like
a little less time spent on them
transfers
in particular. Yeah.
Okay. That might be the format for this year. But yeah, we'll do Eastern Conference preview. We start there because East is the best, because both of our teams are in the East. And then we'll do the West, where the team will probably where the MLS Cup winner will probably come from.
Right.
San Jose, my early pick. Could you imagine San Jose winning it all?
No.
No, me neither. Okay.
Hell would freeze over, I think.
That's it. Have a great rest of your week. We'll catch you next time when we preview the East as we prepare for our 5th season of this show and the 30th season of MLS as a whole.